Madam Vice-Chancellor, colleagues, graduating students, and honored guests, it is with great pleasure that I present to you Justice Murray Sinclair. Many of us in the room have just come to know Justice Sinclair as the head of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada. But even before this historically critical commission, Justice Sinclair has been a powerful advocate for Indigenous peoples. He graduated from law at the University of Manitoba and was called to the bar in 1980. In 1988, he was appointed Associate Chief Judge of the Provincial Court of Manitoba, becoming the first Indigenous judge in Manitoba and Canada's second. He is known for his representation of Indigenous peoples and Indigenous legal issues, representing First Nations bands, Indigenous child and welfare agencies, friendship centers, Métis organizations, and Indigenous corporations. He has acted as legal counsel for the Manitoba Human Rights Commission in discrimination cases. His determination to ensure that Indigenous culture is not lost to future generations goes well beyond the justice system. For example, he and his wife established the Ojibwe Immersion Nursery School program in Winnipeg, which delivers an educational program completely in Ojibwe. In 2009, Justice Sinclair was appointed chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, part of Canada's response to the Indian residential school legacy. The Commission's mandate is to inform all Canadians of what happened in the Indian residential schools and to document the truth of survivors, families, and communities. The Commission visited over 300 communities and heard more than 6,750 stories of survivors. Justice Sinclair led this process with great dignity, humility, compassion, and an unwavering determination to achieve justice and recognition of Indigenous peoples, including finding ways of building bridges between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canadians to achieve reconciliation and healing. As he said in his speech when the report was released in June of this year, reconciliation is not an Aboriginal problem. It involves all of us. Our recommendation should not be seen as an itemization of national penance, but as an opportunity to embrace a second chance at establishing a relationship of equals. The eyes of the world and the gaze of history is upon us. What we do now and the years ahead matters a great deal. We must work together. We must speak the truth. His Ojibwe name, Mijena Gijek, means the one who speaks of pictures in the sky. This can mean many things to different people. For me, it suggests that Justice Murray Sinclair was destined to be a man of vision and to envelop all of us in his dream for the future. Mr. Chancellor, in recognition of his stellar career in judiciary, as well as his dedication, care, and service to Aboriginal peoples and to all Canadians in leading the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, I request that you confer the Doctor of Laws honoris causa upon Murray Sinclair.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Governors and upon recommendation by the University Senate, I confer this degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa. Congratulations.
I am honored to accept.
As per my cultural tradition, I introduce myself before I sing an honor song.
So I'm going to introduce myself in my language, and I'll translate it to English because none of you guys are going to understand what I say. And then I'll sing the song for this honorable man up here. But also, I'd like to recognize that this land is on unceded, unsurrendered Algonquin territory, land that is within my family. But here it goes. Sego, ay, nyanani hay nitsuko anya bianga, nyanani we skrola katunaka ya non shashoni, nyanani we suko na Eastern Shoshone tribe, Nungaya, the Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina and New York. Hi guys, my name is Netsu. It's a short form for my Shoshone name. My name in English is Mike. It's a lot easier to say. But I'm from the Eastern Shoshone tribe. It's in Wind River, Wyoming, which is a shared reserve with the Arapaho as well, and North Carolina, Tuscarora Nation. And this song is I don't know, it's just a song that I chose for this man here, and I think it's very suiting considering where he came from, and I hope you all enjoy, and I hope he enjoys too. Okay. Also, it's an honor song, so if you have any hats, unless it's bearing an eagle feather, I will ask that you remove it, please. I don't see any, but you never know.
Bonjour, Sakanasatuk, Mizinigijik, and Dijinika, Sigegodode. In my language, I greet you and give thanks for this day, give thanks to the elder for the prayer, and give thanks to the drummer for that song. And I give thanks as well for this gift of medicine and healing for this day. I want to also acknowledge, Mr. Chancellor, this important day, and I thank you very much for the honor that's being bestowed upon me. Madam President, thank you for the invitation to be here and to be the recipient of this gift. I acknowledge all of the elders and other residential school survivors who may be in the room. I acknowledge all of the parents, all of the partners, all of the progeny of the graduates who are here. I also want to acknowledge all of the bankers and other lenders of the graduates for their presence, who are sitting here with more bated breath than your parents are, I want you to know. And I also want to acknowledge all of the members of the graduating class of Carleton University for 2015. And ladies and gentlemen, I am privileged to be a recipient of an honorary degree from Carleton University today and to share this very special day with this very special group of people. I want, therefore, to begin by extending my thank you and express my appreciation to the entire university community of Carleton for allowing me to be here and for the honor that you bestow upon me today. I also wish to acknowledge and congratulate Dr. Ben Hepner, who is also receiving an honorary doctorate during these festivities later today from Carleton. Today, as we gather and as we walked in here, I also thought of the military veterans living and past for whom and with whom we stood on Wednesday of this week at the National Cenotaph in remembrance of their sacrifices. At such times, we are also called upon to remember and honor the victims of mass violence around the world, a point brought home to us by the events in Paris yesterday. Like many of you, I suspect, I grieve for those victims and their families. Events like those teach us the importance of love, of family, and of friends, and also of the importance of celebrating moments and achievements such as this today. Graduates, I am proud to share this day with you. We will therefore forever be connected. But you cannot refer to me when you're making a bail application. Unless you're related to me. As we gather here on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation, I am guided in my thoughts by the realization that although I may think in my heart that it was not so long ago, I once sat where you now sit. But in reality, my moment was decades ago. 40 years ago, on my first day in law school, I recall sitting in a discussion circle with my classmates, asking ourselves, why were we there? Some talked about wanting to make lots of money. Some wanted to change the world. Some wanted to be famous. But I wanted to understand. I wanted to understand why I did not know the laws of my people. I wanted to know why Canada did not know the laws of my people. I wanted to know why a federal law could define who my people were, and we could not define ourselves. I wanted to know why I could not speak the language of my grandmother or the history and traditions of my people, the Anishinaabe. I wanted to know why my grandmother and so many others believed by not teaching me those things, she was somehow saving my life. I wanted to know why and how, in 1913, my family and their neighbors could be forcibly removed from our traditional territory, from the prime agricultural lands along the Red River, from the very reserve that the government had agreed to set aside for us during the negotiations of Treaty 1 just 43 years earlier in 1870, and be forcibly marched over 200 miles to flood-prone, swampy land far to the north, to live there forever. I wanted to know why and how my tall, silent, and strong grandfather had been able to resist that forcible removal and remain on his farm, and why a handful of other farmers had been able to do so as well, despite the use of the army to move others along. I wanted to know why the displacement of our people from our territory was never taught in the schools on the very land where we had been removed from. I wanted to know why my young and beautiful mother had died at the age of 25 from tuberculosis, a disease that killed our people by the thousands, and which few of the families of my non-Indigenous friends had ever experienced. I wanted to know why my serious and very stern grandmother, who took us in to raise us after my mother died, when she was 63 and my grandfather was almost 70, never grew up in the house of her mother, why she was raised in a convent by nuns, unlike her silly, laughing sisters whose energy overwhelmed us in our small house when they came to visit and stay with us each summer. I wanted to know why she and my uncles and aunts, all of whom went to residential schools, never talked about it, unlike the parents of my non-Indigenous friends who joked about their teachers and held school reunions. I wanted to know about the sense of injustice carried by all of the adults in my life like a sword and a shield, ready to be wielded at a moment's notice, at the smallest slight or glance or word. I wanted to know if anything could be done about this sense of injustice, or if we would spend the rest of our lives in virtual and real conflict with our non-Indigenous friends and neighbors. I wanted to know if all of the things my family had experienced had happened to others. That's why I went to law school. I wanted to know why, and I wanted to know what to do about it. And I have dedicated my life to that process of discovery. It has not been an easy one, but as you know, I have shared its burdens and its joys with many people along the way. I am now growing old. My body does not let me do what used to be easy, and when it does, it takes much longer. At a time when I want to cram so much living into what time remains for me, I have no choice but to move more slowly. But I have learned that as you move more slowly, you have time to think more carefully and to ponder the burdens of the load you carry. And I have come to this conclusion. Despite all of the pain of the past, for my family and for your ancestors, and the complexities of the problems that we face together, I want to be your friend, and I want you to be mine. I want to respect you, and I want you to respect me, even if we never get to meet and know each other beyond this moment. I want us to find a way to stand and walk together and to live side by side, so the world can see that this great nation was formed not by the Europeans who came here, but also by us who were already here. I want us to come to a new realization of ourselves as a nation for the sake of our children and their children and the children who will be here 7 generations from now. I want us to be better than our ancestors. And I want them to be better than theirs. I want us to strive to be perfect, not just as individuals, but as Canadians, knowing that we may never be perfect, but knowing that from time to time, we will have those moments when we will come, oh, so close, and that the process of striving to be perfect will be consistent with our obligation to the children of the future. I have seen some amazing things and borne witness to some amazing developments over the years. I have suffered personally at the huge holes in my heart from losing members of my family and some of my friends far too early. and I have felt the joy of feeling and sharing the excitement of young people such as you who are on the edge of greatness. Personally, I have gone from being a brilliant young know-it-all lawyer before I was married to a deep sense of my inadequacy as a husband. I have been both lifted and humbled at the love of a beautiful wife, and her awareness of my inherent limitations as a husband and as a man, and her willingness to help make me better has, I know, been a challenge, and is, she will tell you, still a work in progress. I have felt overwhelmed at the enormity of my responsibilities to my children, to ensure that they grow up not only to do better than I have done, but more importantly, to enjoy a better life than I have had. I have also basked in the unquestioning, yet defining love of my grandchildren, who are impressed at my knowledge and the work that I do. And it is their love and their respect and their kindness that makes me feel brilliant once again. During much of my life, I struggled with those personal responsibilities alongside my growing public responsibilities. And I have to say, I was constantly faced with the guilt of inadequacy, as for many years I saw no change in what I believed to be important over those many years. My process of discovery uncovered a lot of painful things, painful not only for me, but painful also for this country. Canada's treatment of Indigenous peoples is nothing for this country to be proud of at this point in time. But we are now on the cusp of something special as this country begins to come to terms with this history. Since we released the summary of the Truth and Reconciliation's findings and our calls to actions in June of this year, I have been truly inspired at the public reaction to what we said, and I have been truly inspired at the efforts of so many segments of the public to work for reconciliation. As the new generation of professionals and scholars today, glowing in your accomplishments, graduates, I hope that you can see that you now are the beneficiaries of our work at the TRC. You are not only inheriting the painful legacies of the past, but you are also inheriting the awareness and the knowledge of why and how things are the way they are, and a framework for defining Canada's new relationship with its Indigenous peoples. For that is the edge of the future upon which we now sit. Armed with that knowledge, graduates, we will now be looking to you to continue the conversation of reconciliation which we have begun. We will be looking to you to move this great country of ours into a new and truthful sense of itself, to shed the cloak of pain and shame, and to walk with Canada's Indigenous people into the future, where our children will be able to talk to and about each other in a more respectful way, where your children and my grandchildren can be friends for life, respecting each other's past and future, knowing everything that has happened in this country. Now, there are among you those who will define that path to reconciliation with much greater clarity than we are able to do at the present. We know the objective, a relationship of mutual respect, but like a marathon, we cannot see the finish line yet or know the challenges that will occur along the way. We may not see them yet for a while, but like every marathoner, you have to believe there's a finish line and that you can get there with effort, or you simply won't finish. And if you don't believe, you might not even start. You have to believe that doing something about this history is the right thing to do, and you have to be fearless in doing what you can. But be forewarned, there are naysayers out there, some on the sidelines, and some, perhaps even among you, who do not believe that any wrong has been done, or that any things need to be changed, or that they have no responsibility to that process. There will always be critics. But remember that such critics usually define the problem so they have no responsibility for it, and even if they acknowledge the problem, rarely have a plan to solve it. They are comfortable in their criticism because they cannot see that this could very easily have happened to them and their ancestors, or that this could happen again. Keep in mind that with the growing strength and influence of world powers, they do not realize that someday Canada may be colonized again. And how will you know how to deal with that if you have not learned how to deal with this? I am reminded of the words of United States President Theodore Roosevelt, who said this in 1910, and I've edited out the sexism for this modern day and age. It is not the critic who counts, not the person who points out how the strong one stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the one who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends themselves in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if they fail, at least fails while daring greatly, so that their place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. And so graduates, congratulations on your achievement today. Bask in the glory and the honor of this moment, for tomorrow your real work begins. I ask you to come and join me as we dare greatly. Thank you. Miigwech.